So when we talk about patience, a lot of times what comes to mind is waiting, annoyance, not getting what you want. In fact, it almost always comes with this flavor of somebody saying to you, be patient. And that's not always what you want to hear. Sometimes you want what you want right now at this minute, and you do not want to wait. Am I right? Of course I'm right. I'm human. We all experience these things. Now, I've had this thing happening to me recently, which actually it's not so, it's kind of like the last couple years, but it's gotten like really ramped up recently. And that is every time I go to the restaurant, any restaurant, I say the restaurant as if there's only one, but no matter where I go, there's a problem with my order. And I'm sure you can tell by listening to me, I can be pretty direct. Why, dance around a subject? I tell people exactly what I need, and I'm very brief. And if it seems like it's going to be complicated, like I'm asking for too much, I just don't ask for that too much. When I want to be super complicated, eat at home, make it myself, right? But when I go to restaurants, I might tweak something ever so slightly. And then the hamburger will come back and it's raw. It's got things on it I didn't ask for. There's a gluten-free bun. I don't get my dinner salad. Like there's always something. And it seems like it's getting to the point where it's multiple somethings every single time I order. Now, to be totally honest with you, at the beginning when this started happening regularly, I was a little annoyed. It's like, if your food comes to the table with everybody else's and yours is wrong, then everybody's eating without you. And then everybody has to wait for you to finish. So there's an inconvenience thing there. And also when you're with people, you're doing this to communicate, have a good time, interact with one another over this meal. So when you are not in the same place as everyone else because your order isn't correct, it makes things a little less fun, makes things a little more complicated in the way that you're communicating across the table. So initially, I would get really frustrated. Oh my gosh, what? I swear I said that. And then you go to all the people at the table. Didn't I say this? Didn't I say this? Like, didn't I ask for the gluten-free bun? Didn't I say that I needed it medium well? Like, didn't I, specify this? And of course, everybody would say yes. And it was never that I was ambiguous in what it was that I was asking for. It was never that I wasn't clear in why I needed those things. I was always very specific. And most of the time, the people who were waiting on us would repeat back the things that I said. So you would think that they knew what it was I was asking for. Now, I said I used to get frustrated. And it's true. It would be more so early on when this was happening regularly. Because to be honest with you, everybody has it happen every once in a while. Like, a waiter or waitress can have a rough day. Or they're just really frazzled and they forget to write something down. Or maybe the cook is really overworked and so they don't get things done correctly. And there can be all different reasons. So we've all had it happen. And how we react really defines who we are as people, and it defines how the rest of our night is going to be. So it's not just about the people around us, it's about us as well. What we do, how we react, what we say does affect. So I've been out of town a lot. I've been to retreats. I've been seeing family. There have been a lot of things that have been going on where I have to go, an hour and a half here, 6.5 hours there. And so I've eaten out a lot. And I kid you not, every single time there's an issue with the order. Even if I order it exactly the way it is on the menu, it still comes and it's wrong. And the other night I ordered a salad and the waitress, she said back to me, okay, so you don't want the croutons and you do want Italian dressing. Yes, thank you, please. And everybody else's salad came and mine didn't. And I didn't say anything. I just remained silent because inside it was sort of this, wow, I used to get really angry about this. I would get really frustrated about this. And it would sort of ruin my whole evening. But, they're eating salad and yeah, I'm really hungry, but I know that my hamburger will show up. And, I'm having this internal dialogue where I'm acknowledging that I'm actually okay. I don't need to be eating at the same time everybody else is. I don't need everything to be perfect. I don't need to be setting myself up for a really angry night. What I need is to keep my cool, to stay patient, to give some grace, even though I don't know what is going on in the back with the cooks, in the front end with like the person who is serving us. I don't know what's going on. I don't know the story, and I'm not having a personal relationship with them, so it's not my place to ask. All I can do is either say at this moment, may I have my salad, please? Or kind of go, I'm going to bask in this moment. I'm going to see what's going on inside of my mind. And I chose the latter. And then, of course, eventually something needed to be said, which was, we did order this salad. It didn't come, so please don't put it on the bill. Right? Eventually something was said. But the patience paid off. The patience allowed me space to remain happy. The patience that I showed allowed me opportunity to project compassion and grace without even knowing what was going on with the people who were preparing my food. See, we don't always need to know the reason in order to give compassion and grace. In fact, I believe giving compassion and grace should be something that happens all the time, whether or not there should be a reason. And maybe there was no reason. In fact, the waitress said to me, oh my gosh, I literally just forgot to write your salad down. And all I could do is do what I'm doing right now, is laugh. What can you do? Get angry? It's already done. And she felt bad and she apologized. So why get upset? You follow what I'm saying? When we choose to have a more pleasant outlook on life, the whole rest of our day or the whole rest of our week becomes more pleasant as well. When we choose to not latch on to negative reactions or negative speech patterns, then we end up being happier. I see all the time now on the news, on social media, people just yelling at one another, like literal video of people just yelling hatred at one another without even thinking about what it is that they're saying. In fact, a lot of times they're pointing a finger saying, you're doing this, you're doing that. And literally in the video, they're doing the exact same thing. And, there are times when that's frustrating and I get sort of upset because I just want people to get along, right? But they're making a choice. They're making a choice to be unhappy, to be angry, to be violent sometimes, to lash out at other people. And remember this, people hate most in other people the things they hate most about themselves. Whoa. In fact, I think it's actually people hate in other people the things they dislike about themselves, right? But you can take it as far as hatred. But think about that a second. Most of the time when people are lashing out, there's something about themselves they're not happy with. And almost always, it's somewhere along the same vein as what it is they're complaining about. So when you have self-acceptance, when you care about yourself more, when you're willing to back yourself up with positivity and with facts, when you're willing to put yourself in that position, you are happier. You allow yourself the space and the time to be happy. So why not choose that, right? Now, when patience doesn't serve you, because I'm sure there are people out there right now going, well, wait a minute. That doesn't always work. And I know this. Sometimes patience doesn't serve you. Like I had an acquaintance who worked at one of the studios in Hollywood, and I met her for lunch one day, and we had just been communicating on the telephone because we had similar jobs. I was working at a vendor and she was at the studio. And so we decided we would get to know one another and maybe take this friendship into the friendship realm. Like, let's get together for lunch. Let's hang out every once in a while, right? And so this was our first meeting in person. And during the conversation, she says to me that She doesn't know when she'll get married. She's been dating this guy for 6 years and she's been living with him for 4. And she's thinking that maybe he's not serious. And I'm sorry to laugh, but it's like, yeah, dude's not serious, man. 6 years in and you've been living with him for 4 years. Why get married? He's already got you. Like, why are you doing that? But she was living in a state of constant patience. Patience until he came around. Patience until he declared his love for her by saying, let's get married. She was living in patience. But because nothing was ever going to come from that, that patience was also leaving her in a place of pain. So it doesn't always serve you, right? And that's okay. You need to figure out if you're in a pattern that's just perpetuating this patience thing, or if there is actually something awaiting you at the end of the patience. When it comes to valuing yourself when things are just not right, this is where wisdom comes into play. Just like the story I was just telling you about the woman who was in the relationship for 6 years, I have met so many people in this position. I'm in this great relationship. This person says they want to marry me, but now they're saying they're too young, or, they need to get their degree first, or they need to make their first million, or all sorts of excuses for why, as if when marriage happens, all life stops. And it is always super baffling to me, because just saying you're not ready is cool. Why the excuses? Why the nonsensical excuses, right? I love you. I'm not ready to commit to you on that level. Cool. Don't move in together. Like, moving in together is marriage without a license or a certificate. Okay. It's the same thing, but without the commitment on paper. So don't give the excuses. I don't want to be married right now, but I do want to live with you. Cool. Make it clear. Be direct. And that way, if you're on the receiving end of something like that, you can make a stronger decision. Is this what I want? Do I want to live with this person? Do I want to be sort of tried on like a pair of pants, or tried out like a test drive on a car? Do I want to be somebody who is just sort of there for now, knowing that it's not going anywhere? Like, you need to make that choice for yourself and then own it. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm actually cool with that because I don't think I want to commit for my life, but I'm having a good time now. Make the decision with honest facts, know exactly what it is that you want and you need, and put wisdom in the middle of all of that. If your choice gives you the opportunity to be more fulfilled, to feel better about yourself, to be uplifted, to feel empowered, then go for it. And the same, we don't have to talk about relationships here, but we could talk about working in the corporate world, working yourself up the corporate ladder as opposed to being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur has more control over their hours, what it is they're going to do and how they're going to do it. When you're working in the corporate world, a lot of times you have a boss or you are the boss, and there are rules, and you have to be at your desk at a certain time, and lunch is at a certain time, and you have to be at your desk, for a certain amount of time during the day. You don't get to leave until 5 or 6 or 7, depending on your job, right? And so the rules many times are what people go, I don't deal well with rules. I don't deal well with a boss. I want to be my own boss. I want to, make up my own schedule. I want to make up my own mind when I'm going to be at my desk and when I'm going to go to lunch, right? I'm going to set my own appointments to fit my schedule. And when you're looking at these two examples, patience comes into play when it's the corporate world because you're working up a ladder, hopefully. Hopefully you're at a company where you can work your way up. Because as you work your way up, you make more money, you get more responsibility, and you can become more fulfilled if you play it right. But if you are on the entrepreneur side, patience comes into play because a lot of times what you're starting out, you've never started out before. And so you have to build the road before you start walking on it. It could take more time. As a startup, as something that is brand new, You could be doing this for 6 months, 2 years, 7 years before it finally takes off, and you're not only supporting yourself, but you're making more money than you actually need. So in both scenarios, you need patience. But what are you willing to put patience into? Do you want to put patience into the corporate world or into being an entrepreneur? You need to look at the wisdom in both scenarios. Maybe you're working in the corporate world while you are working on the entrepreneurial stuff. You need to lay all of these plans in front of yourself, do the pros and cons, figure out what makes sense, and apply wisdom to this so that when you are deciding to have patience, it makes sense for you. Follow me? Patience is not just something that you have in order to feel good. It's a tool. And it's a tool that when used properly can actually uplift you and motivate you more. And the way you use it properly is to know why you're applying it and to make very educated choices as to when you're going to apply it and for how long. Because sometimes you can be patient and you're deciding you're going to have patience through a situation. But as in the case of the woman with the six-year relationship, maybe 2 years in, you go, you know what? This isn't worth it to me anymore. I really want the picket fence and the children and the whole thing. Like maybe that's your opportunity to go, I had a time limit and my time limit is up. So now I'm going to make a jump to do something specifically for me. So being proactive in your patience and in your wisdom is a gift to yourself. Applying compassion and grace when others are just not up to the task can be so important, so rewarding. Compassion and grace toward the people who are unable to make the big decisions. Proactively, you come up with all of the wisdom so that when you decide to have patience, you've got a term limit on that. You know what wisdom you are applying. You're proactively understanding what it is you're waiting for. When the term comes up and they're not ready to make a decision, give them grace. You were an active participant in this. You made a decision to stay. There's no point in being angry. There's no point in being hurt. You proactively came up with the wisdom. You chose to show patience, and now it's time to walk away. It's all cool. And if they're not cool with it, that's okay. They made a decision too. And you can give them the grace that comes with interacting with somebody who made a decision for themselves. So, from this point forward, come up with the wisdom and be proactive with your wisdom before you start showing your patience. And in moments when patience can really be rewarding to you on an emotional level, employ that. You know, if I knew that my food wasn't going to come out exactly the way I wanted, I might, be a little bit more direct about what it is that I need. But overall, I'd still need to apply patience. So why not have patience to begin with, right? And give yourself the opportunity to give that patience, to give the compassion and give the grace so that you keep your heart rate down and you're positive about the entire experience. You don't know what's going on with other people. And sometimes even when you do, you need to give them the grace that allows them to make the decisions and the mistakes that they need to make for themselves.